What if the first 7 minutes after you die aren't the end, but the beginning of something far more mysterious? Science tells us that brain activity continues for several minutes after the heart stops, but ancient scrolls, from Egyptian tombs to Buddhist texts, from Hebrew mysticism to Tibetan manuals, have whispered a deeper, stranger truth for centuries. Those 7 minutes hold the entire doorway between worlds. They say time stretches, moments expand, and in those first 7 minutes, you see your whole life flash before you, but not the way movies show it. You don't just watch your life, you feel it, all of it. According to hidden scrolls smuggled out of temples and monasteries, the soul undergoes a multi-phase transition where everything you've done, said, loved, or feared becomes a vibrational mirror. Some call it a judgment, others call it awakening. But all traditions agree. Something profound happens in those first moments of death, and it changes everything. In this video, we're going to explore what really happens in those 7 minutes after your last breath, not just from science, but through ancient wisdom passed down for thousands of years. Stay with me to the end, because once you understand what happens after you die, you'll never look at your life the same way again. Let's begin. Before science had words for the soul, the ancients already mapped its first steps. Long before brain scans or EKG machines, ancient civilizations had already described what happens in the moments right after death. They didn't just fear death, they studied it, they prepared for it, and, in many cases, they welcomed it as a return, not a disappearance. In ancient Egypt, the Book of the Dead describes the soul, or Ka, rising from the body and entering a transitional space. It's greeted by shadow beings, ancestral guides, and guardians who escort it toward judgment. But the judgment isn't instant. It begins with a pause, a sacred interval the Egyptians believed lasted exactly 7 minutes, where the soul revisits the heart's vibration, not just its deeds. Meanwhile, in Tibetan Buddhism, the Bardo Thodol, the Tibetan Book of the Dead, details what happens the moment consciousness leaves the body. Time bends. Visions appear. Peaceful and wrathful deities emerge, not to judge, but to reflect. The soul's state of mind. This begins within minutes of physical death, during a stage known as the Chikai Bardo. It's a space of pure awareness, where everything is light, but few recognize it. Kabbalistic texts from Jewish mysticism describe a similar moment. The neshama, or soul, rises above the body and remains in the room for several minutes. It observes. It feels, and if it's not at peace, it may linger, whispering through energy until released by prayer or ritual. Even in Sufi traditions, the passing of the soul is described as a moment of deep confusion, followed by clarity. It is as if the soul suddenly remembers everything it forgot upon being born. These scrolls, though separated by time and geography, describe startlingly similar patterns: an initial release, a sudden detachment from the physical body, a brief period of confusion, a moment of watching without being seen, a mirror phase, where the soul is shown, or feels, the energetic echo of its life. They all treat the first moments after death not as random, but ritualized, a sacred gateway, a threshold. And now, modern science is finally beginning to catch up. In the next section, we'll look at what neurologists and consciousness researchers have discovered about what happens in the brain and body immediately after death, and how it eerily aligns with what these ancient scrolls said all along. Get ready, because the science may surprise you. Modern science and the mystery of brain activity after death. When the heart stops, the mind doesn't. For centuries, science and spirituality stood on opposite sides of the conversation about death. But in recent decades, something remarkable has happened. Neuroscience began to confirm what ancient traditions had already described. In a groundbreaking 2013 study by the University of Michigan, researchers observed rats in the moments following cardiac arrest. What they discovered was shocking: a sudden surge in brain activity, even after the heart had stopped beating. The animals exhibited a burst of gamma brain waves, the same type associated with heightened awareness, memory recall, and consciousness. This wasn't a slow shutdown, it was a spike, as if the brain had lit up one last time before going silent. Human studies followed. In 2022, doctors monitoring a terminally ill patient with an EEG machine recorded a similar pattern. The heart flatlined, the brain released a powerful wave of synchronized activity just before death. This led researchers to wonder, could this be the biological basis of the life review experience people report during near-death encounters? In fact, thousands of NDE, near-death experience cases across the globe describe the same sequence. A sense of floating above the body, watching medical teams working from outside, feeling peace, love, and even encountering light beings experiencing. A panoramic life review, with emotions more vivid than memory. Dr. Bruce Greyson, one of the world's leading researchers on NDEs, has said, "What's happening during these experiences seems to suggest consciousness can function independently of the physical brain. Even skeptics have had to admit something is happening in those minutes after death that science can't yet explain." What's even more intriguing, many of these near-death reports align almost exactly with what the ancient scrolls described. Disembodiment review. Presence of light or guides expansion of time, and a subtle but powerful sense of choice. What if these final brain waves are more than just electrical signals? What if they're the soul's attempt to process, to understand, to release? If so, the first 7 minutes after death may be not just a transition, but a transformation. And now, we arrive at the most powerful moment. In this entire journey, what actually happens, minute by minute, in those sacred 7 minutes? What do the scrolls say? What do experiencers report? In the next section, we'll walk through the 7-minute window after death, minute by minute, revealing what consciousness may go through and what it means for how you live now. What if your last 7 minutes could reshape your entire lifetime? Minute by minute, the 7-stage process of the soul's transition. Death is not the end. It's the unfolding of awareness in slow motion. Minute 1. The release. As the heart stops and breath ceases, the body becomes still, but the mind does not. According to both neuroscience and ancient texts, a surge of energy floods the brain. This moment is often described in near-death experiences as a sense of detachment, a floating sensation, a subtle awareness that the body is no longer you. In Egyptian scrolls, this is called the unbinding of the Ka. In Tibetan Buddhism, it's the Chikai Bardo, the moment the soul exits the physical form. You may still see through your eyes, but from the outside, you may hear your name being called, but can't respond. You are conscious, but no longer in a body. Minute 2, the observation, the soul watches. Most NDE survivors report seeing their physical body from above, on a hospital bed, an accident site, or a peaceful location. You may see loved ones crying or doctors working, but now you are just presence. This aligns with ancient Jewish mysticism, where the neshama hovers above the body for a few minutes, observing the scene, reluctant to leave. This moment is filled with emotion. There is confusion, awe, and often a strange calm. You are watching your final moments, without pain, but full of meaning. Minute 3, the emotional flood. Then the floodgates open. This minute is often described as a wave of pure emotion, not just your own, but the emotions of those around you. In Xiao, ancient scrolls, this is when the veil of sentience lifts. You feel your mother's sorrow, your child's confusion, the grief of a friend who never said goodbye. This is not to punish, it's to reconnect, to show how deeply you were woven into the lives of others. In Buddhism, this echoes the law of interdependence. We are not isolated beings. We are deeply entangled with every soul we touch. Minute 4. The life review. The moment many fear, and many long for. This is not a slideshow of your greatest hits. It's immersive. You don't watch your life. You feel it. You become each person you ever affected, for better or worse. When you hurt someone, you feel their pain. When you loved someone, you feel their warmth. This isn't judgment, it's clarity. Ancient texts from Sufism and Gnostic Christianity describe this as the mirror of truth, and science has shown that during near-death experiences, time dilates, which explains how someone can relive decades in seconds. Minute 5. The invitation, suddenly, the light. This isn't always a literal tunnel of light. It's a sense of something calling, something peaceful, magnetic, and deeply familiar. Some experience guides, others hear music. Some are offered a choice. Do you return or do you continue? This aligns with what's found in scrolls across cultures, that the soul may be given a moment of free will to go back and complete something, or move forward into the unknown. Many who return say they felt they had unfinished work, or that someone they loved pulled them back with energy or prayer. Minute 6. The shift. The surroundings begin to dissolve. The soul now leaves the earth plane behind. There is no more hospital room, no more body, only vibration. Many report feelings of oneness, colors they cannot describe, and a presence that feels like unconditional love. Tibetan and Egyptian texts both describe this stage as a threshold, a vibrational veil the soul must cross. Here, your identity begins to melt. Not in a scary way, but in a liberating one. You're no longer you as you knew yourself. You are essence. Minute 7. The remembering this is the final moment in the 7-minute window, and paradoxically, it's not the end, it's the return to your original self. In the scrolls, this is the point where the soul remembers why it came, what it came to learn, and where it's meant to go next. You understand that life was a lesson, not a punishment, not a game, but a sacred unfolding of experiences your soul chose. Some describe this moment as being wrapped in light. Others say it felt like going home. There is no fear, only truth and peace. The 7 minutes are complete, but the journey has just begun. In the next section, we'll talk about how this knowledge can transform how you live now, with practical steps to align your life with your soul. Because if you understand what happens after death, you may finally learn how to live. You've seen what might come after your final breath. But what will you do with your next one? The purpose of this journey isn't to scare you, it's to awaken you, to invite you to live now, with more presence, more purpose, more peace. Because the 7 minutes after death aren't just about dying, they're about how well you've lived. Here are 5 practical takeaways you can begin using today. Practice the life review before it happens. Every night before bed, close your eyes and ask, if today were part of my life review, how would it feel? Would you feel proud of how you spoke to someone you love? Would you feel aligned with your choices or out of rhythm with your values? Doing this daily builds what monks call awareness without regret. It's not about guilt. It's about living consciously, on purpose. Tend to your emotional echo. Your energy lingers. Just like others' energy leaves marks on you, your words, your moods, your presence leaves traces in every interaction. Begin to ask, what do I leave behind in people when I leave the room? Kindness is not softness. It's clarity without harm. What you put into the world is what your soul will revisit. So choose peace, even when it's hard. Embrace stillness. Like a sacred skill, the soul recognizes silence. All ancient texts, Tibetan, Sufi, Vedic, emphasize the power of stillness at the moment of death. You don't need to sit for an hour. Just take 2 minutes each day to do nothing, no phone. No to-do list, just breathe. Why? Because silence is the language of the soul. Make peace with your people. Unspoken words become spiritual weight. Don't wait until it's too late. Forgive someone. Apologize. Speak your truth gently. Most people, in near-death experiences, say their regrets weren't about what they did, but about what they left unsaid. Live as if you might return. The idea of returning to this life, reincarnation or not, teaches a powerful mindset. Treat each experience as a classroom. Every heartbreak, every failure, every joy. Ask yourself, what? Was this moment trying to teach me? When you stop resisting life, you start aligning with your evolution. That's when peace begins. These takeaways aren't just spiritual fluff. They're practices rooted in ancient wisdom and modern psychology. They help you live in a way that your soul will thank you for, whether in 70 years or in your final 7 minutes. And now, let's bring this journey to a close with one final message from the scrolls and a question that may change how you see tomorrow. What will your final 7 minutes say about you? The real question was never what happens after you die. It's what happens when you truly start living. We've traveled through ancient tombs, sacred scrolls, and modern science. We've floated above the body. We've felt the emotional waves. We've faced the mirror of truth. And now you know, the first 7 minutes after death aren't empty. They are full of sensation, memory, clarity, and, maybe most of all, choice. But here's the secret every ancient path quietly points to. You don't have to wait until death to meet your soul. You can do it today, in stillness, in forgiveness, in presence. So I want to leave you with this question, one that might echo in your own 7 minutes someday. If you only had 7 minutes to feel your entire life, what would you wish you had done differently? What would you wish you had said, or healed, or loved more fully? Let us know in the comments. Your words may awaken someone else's soul today. If this video moved you, even a little, please consider liking, subscribing, and sharing it with someone who needs to remember that this life is sacred. And if you're ready to go deeper into these mysteries, watch our video, The Hidden 31-Day Journey of the Soul After Death, the forbidden truth you've never been told. Because the story doesn't end here, it's just beginning. Thank you for being here, for listening, for remembering.